Can the voice be heard? And is the camera on, sister?
Yes, sister.
Thank you. Om Shanti, everyone, and welcome to this 21-day goal to cleanse tough habits. We are saying 21 days because we do need 21 days to change any tough habit. And so for that, we need that determination to be able to cleanse these tough habits. It's very easy, and we see how it's done in these next 21 days. We will be taking the subject of stress and to serene, lazy to active, waste to productive, worry to positive. All these different topics will be taken in depth over these 21 days. And just wanted to say thank you to all for making time for your wonderful self. And if it is for the first time for you, would like to give a brief introduction of the self and the institution. My name is Rini, and the institution is Brahma Kumaris. It was founded in 1936 in northern India, and we have centers all over the world in almost all countries. And in this meditation, we do find insights into the human psychology to be able to make real changes at the seed level to improve our inner and outer quality. So we will start. This is the analogy that it really helps me to put this into perspective of changing habits. The mind is its own place and in itself can make heaven of hell and a hell of heaven, depending on who is using the mind. It's not just about how we are using the mind, it is also about who is using the mind. So let's take a moment of silence, and if we could be comfortable, I invite you to experiment, either with your eyes open, or you can even close your eyes, wherever you may be sitting. This body has done a lot for you today. So let's allow and respect this energy of the body. By relaxing it and accepting it as it is. Maybe tired, may not be tired. However it is, accept it as it is, so that the mind can be focused on the spiritual energy. Now, when you sit quietly with yourself, we are going to examine and just observe the mind. How do you feel sitting with yourself quietly? Do you feel any kind of love and appreciation for the self? Or do you feel any distaste or irritation? Whatever it may be, just accept because your whole life's experience is based on how you feel about yourself. We are always looking for that person who makes us feel good. But we know it's temporary. Hence, meditation is to reconcile with yourself, to come to a place of deep peace. And being peaceful doesn't necessarily mean that our life is perfect. But we have a choice to create perfect thoughts, regardless of an imperfect life. We simply have to give attention to the true self. Let us hold this feeling of accepting life's situations, accepting the physical body, accepting even the upheavals of the mind as it is, and allow that beautiful self emerge, which is behind all of this hiding. Just bringing attention. So the first 5 days, we will be working on a foundation to change habits. And what is important in changing habits? It's very easy to change habits through meditation, but one just needs to want to change it. If the want is strong and powerful, then habit changing is very, very easy. And we will see how and why. So, without knowing, when we sit in meditation, without knowing what to do and how to think, there's an internal struggle. So, spiritual wisdom is what is we share here with you, along with the meditation, so that there is a foundation for your thoughts in meditation, so that you know what to think when you sit down to meditate. Because otherwise, it's like you're burning down your old house without having a new house in place. And it's also like another analogy that really speaks to me is like trying to pull a knife out of the child's hand. It's not going to be easy. It's better to give him a more interesting toy to play with, and he will put the knife down himself. And that is what we are going to be doing. We are going to give the mind more elevated thoughts to think about, which will help us change the habits. And we will see how. And then that will help us make the process very easy. So it's not just about, as we said, shedding the old habit, but we have to replace it with the thought of knowledge that is based on truth, eternal truth. So we are not suppressing any thoughts in this meditation. That is why we were observing them. We are not silencing the mind and not creating no thoughts, but we are actually learning to think. We are learning to think spiritually. We are re-educating our consciousness. So that is why we are changing our habits at the level of the seed, not on the superficial level. We look at this inner process and the inner plant of the mind, and it cannot be seen. So sometimes we are not even aware of this inner plant. But we will divide it into two parts, which is the inner work and the outer expression. So let's say the seed of the mind is the thought. So the thought is the first thing that we create. So even right now, as we are sitting here, we can experiment with it, create a thought about somebody you may like very much. So let's see, when you create that thought of you really liking being with that person, being around that person, the feeling that you will generate will be very nice, warm feeling, because the feeling is based upon the thought that you created. But if the feeling is not so nice, then you know at the thought level you're not thinking something nice. So then we catch ourselves at the feeling level, we can change the thought. Now, however you are thinking or you're feeling, you're now consistently thinking about that person. Now you're feeling good and you're constantly creating those good thoughts about that person or bad thoughts about somebody. What will happen? It will change our attitude. It will create our attitude. And then that attitude becomes our perspective towards that person. Next time when you meet that person, you will meet that person based upon the thoughts you had created when you were not even around that person. So if your thoughts were positive, and when you meet them next time, you meet them with a very warm heart. But if your thoughts were not so nice and you meet with them, you may pretend to be nice, but your inner energy would be of very heavy and very negative hearted. So it is an attitude, it becomes an attitude. It's our perspective about that person. And that is what we call thought, feeling, and attitude. This is all happening at the inner level. So far, nothing has come into action. Now comes the action. Action is when that perspective, when we meet them, and then it comes in our words and behavior. When it comes in our words and behavior, that becomes an action. And when that action is repeated over and over again, then that action becomes a habit. So sum total of thought, feeling, attitude, and action is what creates habit. When we use these habits regularly in our life, it becomes our personality. So sum total of habits becomes our personality. This is an important word, would like to highlight that, a sanskara, which becomes kind of a natural way for us to be, which is not natural, but a more habituated, automated way is probably a better word, a more automated and a habituated way of being, where we are not thinking, but it's just coming out automatically. It's like, I didn't want to say that, but I said it. It's because it has now come into our personality. And that is what a personality is. And our personality creates our destiny, which is situations, circumstances, good or bad, is what we call destiny. And that is what creates our personality. And today, the way we are actually living our life is we are saying, if my circumstances are good, if my destiny is good, then I will feel good about life. And then I can create thoughts. How can I create good thoughts if my situations are not good? But situations will keep coming. If you wait for the situation to change to create good thoughts, then by that time, worry will become a habit, because every time a situation comes, we are either getting worried or we are getting fearful. And then next situation comes, before that is over, then the next situation comes, and then we are creating more fear and more worry. So it goes on, and before we know it, every situation that comes in our life feels like, what have I done? Why is everything coming to me? It's because we are trying to check and change at the level of destiny. Whereas what we have to do is, we now know the process is to change at the level of seed. That is the thought. The thought has to be changed for the destiny to be what we want it to be. So that is what we are trying to do here. And then there was this beautiful example of the cigarette companies. They said that during the first week of the New Year's, they don't have very high sales. Their sales dip down dramatically, but they're really relaxed about it because they know that everybody will come back soon because they're all trying to change the habits at the level of action. And that's why we see that we don't get the success we want. So now we know the inner plant. Raw material is thought, that is beautiful thought, pure thought. Destiny will be beautiful, and nothing can change that if we work with the right method. There's a beautiful story of two wolves. You must have heard that story. And grandfather is telling his grandchildren, and he's saying that there are always two wolves in our mind. And these two wolves, one is good and one is bad. One is the one which creates fear, anger, and all negative emotions. And the other one is a good one which creates hope, truth, compassion. So then the grandson gets curious and then he asks, so then, grandfather, which wolf will win? So then the grandfather says, the one you feed the most. So we know that since we are the creators of our thoughts, only we can change our thoughts. And we will see that we always have two prompts. One is the prompt of a bully, which is a negative thought, and one is a prompt of an angel, which is probably very quiet nowadays. And so, angels' thoughts are usually the ones which are we are not paying much attention to. We are so caught up in the thoughts of bully. But first thought may not be a choice because we have moved on to automated thinking pattern. But the second thought is a choice. And so we can truly take charge of our mind if we work on spiritual wisdom along with knowledge, along with meditation practice, of putting it into practice. Now we will see how do we create habits at thought level. So to create habits at thought level, we are creating 5 different types of thoughts. So the negative thoughts, negative thinking habit is created by lots of weak thoughts we create, and they come like tsunami. And because anything weak makes an impact, and it's like a domino effect. We'll give you an example. In the past, before coming into this knowledge, would find myself exaggerating the truth or sensationalizing somebody's weakness, and then started believing in that weakness myself. And then solution after coming into this meditation realized was to put a full stop. Do not feed it. The more you feed it, the more it becomes stronger like that wolf. Then the second type of thought is the waste thought. So the waste thought actually creates a burden and it makes us feel heavy. We think it's harmless, but it can actually lead to negativity. And this habit is a habit we really need to watch out in our daily life. We'll give you another example. In the past, before coming into this knowledge, realized that whenever I was at the doctor's office or at the airport, would unnecessarily read behind the magazines of people waiting out there and then start reading the back of their magazine or looking at somebody's shoes or looking at their hairstyle. And before I knew it, it would remind me of somebody else. And that somebody else, that thought will take me to a holiday I had with someone. And then that will take me to seeing the weaknesses of that person. It was like I'm waiting in the clinic, but my mind is in Timbuktu. It's like you are driving from Carmel to SFO, and your mind could be somewhere else. And that is these are the habits that we create, and our mind becomes used to being distracted like that and just going in unnecessary waste thinking. And then we also create thoughts of worry, unnecessary thinking about the future. Like, for example, one of the people I know, it was like Their mother was very sick, but they were so worried. They were more worried about what will happen to her. How will she manage this if this happens and if that happens? So it's like, but because she was in knowledge, she was able to overcome it with the thoughts of knowledge. And that is why we need knowledge, and we will see later why. And necessary thoughts are important, creating thoughts about what we need to do, but not too many of them, because those thoughts can be paralyzing if we do not pay attention. Do what you need to do without procrastination. And procrastination too is a habit, which we will learn later in this series. And then elevated thoughts are very few qualitative thoughts based on spiritual knowledge. Cyclical thoughts are the thoughts which are repeated and go in a loop too much. And then we find it hard to come out of it. It's unnecessary. The same thought goes in our mind again and again. And so it's important to understand these thoughts to overcome them. So we will now go into meditation and find out in our meditation, we will check both these thoughts, how they work. So see if you can follow it as it is, would invite you to follow it and experience it, make it more experiential rather than just something to relax for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour. It is more to learn the art of being in that relaxing mode for the rest of our life. So let us put in that little bit of that effort. No, it's a long office day, maybe for most of you, but it would pay out in the long run if this effort we make to help ourselves rid of the bully thinking that we have going on in our mind. So let's take a moment. And in this moment of silence, we have seen that every thought is a building block for a habit which can serve us or which can hurt us. Like an architect, he doesn't design a house without paying attention to details. So when we see our mind is going in the wrong direction, we change the direction as soon as we realize it. Every little detail for the architect matters to create a beautiful piece of architecture. Becoming an architect of your life and destiny does not mean that one becomes rich and famous. But it means making deliberate choices at thought level. Am I encouraging angelic thoughts, or am I encouraging bully thoughts, which we also called Maya? As we said, first thought may not be a choice, but we do have a choice to change for the next thought. If we cannot catch it at thought level, one can catch at feeling level. What do we normally do when not feeling good? Bully will say, distract yourself or suppress it by going for shopping or bury yourself in more work. Or why don't you go eat some comfort food? Or the bully will say, go talk to somebody, vent it out, complain and criticize. But the angel, that is the real us, the true us. He does not encourage oppression, suppression, or distraction, but it applies a thought of knowledge. Okay, if you're not feeling good, what have I been thinking? So let's change the quality of the seed. And the bully will say, no, go talk to somebody. The angel will say, we don't need to depend on others to feel good. Feeling good is in my hands. All I need to do is change the thought consciously every time negative thought comes. And the whole chain of thought to destiny changes. If the first musical note is not right, then the whole chain of notes will be out of tune. So we spend most of our time on the first note, that is the thought, and the whole chain becomes melodious. We can't plant the seed of anger and reap peace. We can't plant the seed of negativity and reap elevated and happy state. We give ourselves thoughts of truth. The real self that I am is a being of light that is immortal, that is peaceful, angelic, just forgotten myself. So reawakening the true self in the light of truth. We watch this whole process of the mind. Of the bully and the angel. It's that tiny star who's the one with a big smile watching both the qualities of thoughts and feeding the angel and starving the bully thoughts. Om Shanti. Om Shanti, everyone. We will meet again tomorrow and we will see how to make our thoughts powerful tomorrow, because we now know our thoughts create our habits. So we will meet again tomorrow. Thank you.